Hey guys, it's Ed here from EvolvedFarming.com. I'd like to draw your attention to an article I read which caught my eye. This is from Farm and Dairy Magazine by author Gail Keck, and it's entitled Grass-Based Farming Preserves Family Legacy. This called out to me for a couple of reasons. One, because this is a local Ohio farm across the way in Defiance, and we're in Ohio ourselves. But what really drew me to this is that this was a fifth-generation legacy farmer who did the whole big-agra route, and in the 80s found himself with aging infrastructure and sort of tapped out. The land tapped out, his finances tapped out, and he didn't know how he was going to continue, and ultimately he decided to go back to basics, to go back to grass-fed. So this is a farm they're highlighting is Canal Junction Farm in Defiance, Ohio. As I mentioned, a fifth-generation farmer. He switched to grass-based production, and 30 years later, he's marketing direct to consumers. He specializes in grass-fed meats and cheese and also includes a herd-shared dairy, and that's really interesting. I'll talk about that in a moment. The farm produces beef, pork, lamb, turkey, chicken, and eggs, as well as raw milk and cheeses. So how does he do it? Well, direct marketing. He grew into direct marketing to consumers and didn't start out that way. Most of the customers come from nearby urban communities, and he has built a business that takes orders to an online buying club, another important term, and then meets up with customers at drop-off points each Wednesday. As he started out early on, he would get permission from business owners to do the drop-offs in their parking lots, but then found that often the owner who's giving permission is not talking to the manager or the employees, who would then give them a hard time for being there. So today his model is built around doing drop-offs in local community churches. So any of you thinking about doing the same thing, community church would be the way to go. He drops off each Wednesday. He has 4 different drop-off points in a regional area. And the farm's grown basically through word of mouth, and then online searches for terms herd shares and grass-fed meats are the big keys for him. His herd share agreement establishes the ability to sell raw milk. Now, that can be a little tricky to do, but the herd share is really cool because for a one-time fee, normally $50, you buy into the herd. And then you subscribe to receive milk at $7 a gallon. And the milk that you're paying, the $7, is actually paying the boarding fees for the herd. So that's a really interesting angle, and one that at a farm that I'm associated with, Squidwich Farms, we just expanded the does in our goat flock by 4 yesterday, and are scaling up next year to produce milk in a much larger abundance. And herd sharing is something that we're looking to go into as well. So this gentleman's success has given us a lot of interesting things to think about. So in addition to what's made him successful is managing his grazing. If you're a fan of Joe Salatin, you've heard me talk about him before. Kind of takes really, a good 3 years of transforming a land and getting the regular seed bank up and running and healing the land. So I guess that back in the 80s, the land was really tough and not very usable. And today, the owner says that you can put a screwdriver in it and the land's really crumbly. So he grazes his animals on his land and then rents some nearby land to make hay. So we're talking about grass-fed grazing of dairy and beef and dairy cows, sheep, hogs, and chickens. So the chickens run through tractors, much like we do at Squidwich Farms across the grass. And then his laying hens, he has 500 laying hens that he has in a large hoop house scenario. So he went from really the worst of what big-agra does to lands, ultimately leaving them kind of spent and chemical dependent, to rich, lush grasses. So it's a great article. I recommend you look at it, especially if you're thinking about scaling up to a market garden farm, and it's something that's near and dear to my heart. Kind of feels a little bit like a polyface farm in the backyard if you're here in Ohio. So check it out. Please leave in the comments if you found the article interesting or didn't. And that's it from Squidwich Farms. Have a great day.